The dangerous thing about episode 5 is not that Rhaenyra might lose, it is that she might win wrong. The preview is selling a battle, but the more interesting question is reputation. Rhaenyra has the throne now. Alicent even says it plainly, she rules. But ruling is exactly where the trap begins, because every act of mercy can look weak, and every act of force can look monstrous. That is why Tumbleton matters. This is not a clean battlefield where a queen points dragons at villains and the problem disappears. It is a town, an army, civilians, frightened soldiers, and new dragon riders whose loyalty is still more theory than fact. So the real hook is not can Rhaenyra take Tumbleton. The real hook is what does taking it do to her image? Rhaenyra's line in the preview is fascinating because it sounds like a queen defending herself. Have I not shown you mercy? But that question has a nasty edge once she is sitting in power. Mercy is only persuasive when people still believe you are in control. If they think your mercy is fear, the crown starts to look soft. If they think your mercy is performance, the crown starts to look false. That puts Rhaenyra in a very ugly pocket. She cannot simply be the better ruler. She has to prove she is the better ruler while surrounded by people who profit if she looks unstable. Aemon says she diminished the Iron Throne. Criston sells endurance and glory. Ormond can sell the image of a town under Dragonfire. None of them need the whole truth. They only need one clean story that scared people can repeat. Aegon does not need to be a great king right now. He does not even need to be impressive. His usefulness is darker than that. A broken Aegon can become evidence. He can be carried around the war like a living accusation. Look what black victory costs. Look what dragon politics does to bodies. Look what happens when the succession becomes fire and grievance. That is the lane where Larys is dangerous. Larys understands that weakness can be converted into leverage. If Aegon cannot rule by strength, he can still rule as a symbol for people who fear Rhaenyra more than they love him. And that is why the previous Aegon material should not be dismissed as recovery filler. A wounded claimant may be less useful on a battlefield, but more useful in a propaganda war. This is where Ormond Hightower becomes more than just another commander. The point of Tumbleton is not only that an army is waiting there. The point is that the location muddies the meaning of every black response. If Rhaenyra sends dragons, she may look like she is burning what she claims to protect. If she holds the dragons back, she may look like she cannot use the power that won her the throne. If she tries a cleaner military answer, she gives the Greens the kind of drawn-out fight where chaos writes the headline for them. The preview is full of images that feel designed for that trap. Smoke, gates, marching men, panicked bodies, and soldiers selling themselves a glorious death. That is not just spectacle. That is the political machine of the episode. It asks whether Rhaenyra can control not only the battle, but the story that escapes from it. The big book-shaped shadow over this episode is the two betrayers, but the useful version of that conversation is not, spoilers, Hugh and Ulf betray Rhaenyra. That is too flat. The useful question is why the show would make betrayal feel believable. Because if betrayal just happens because the book says so, it is a plot event. If the show gives it emotion, class anger, family pressure, humiliation, or fear, then it becomes character. Hugh is the key here. He is not just a guy who received a dragon upgrade. He is a man with wounds, pride, and something personal to lose. Put that man near a battlefield that can threaten civilians, and suddenly loyalty becomes more complicated. Rhaenyra may have found riders, but she has not necessarily found subjects. A dragon can choose a rider faster than a government can build trust. Then there is the quieter bomb, Helena's pregnancy. If the show is moving toward Maelor, it is not just fixing a missing book piece, it is creating a future claimant problem at exactly the moment Rhaenyra is trying to make her rule feel settled. A child can be politically more dangerous than an army because a child turns every decision into a moral test. That matters for Alicent too. Alicent is not simply a defeated woman watching Rhaenyra rule. She may be watching the next hostage of the war form inside her own family. And if Rhaenyra becomes harsher while that pregnancy hangs over the story, the show gets a much sharper question than good queen versus bad queen. It becomes, how far can a ruler go before every future claimant starts looking like a threat that must be managed? So the smartest way to watch episode 5 is not to ask only who wins the battle. Ask what the show chooses to protect. Does it protect Rhaenyra by making the Greens look cynical? Does it protect Hugh by giving him a real reason to crack? Does it protect Alicent by turning her into a mother trapped between politics and horror? Or does it protect the book shape and let the characters get dragged toward betrayal even when they can still see the cliff? That is where the episode can become bigger than a battle preview. Tumbleton can be the place where the war stops being about who has more dragons and becomes about who can survive the meaning of using them. And if the show is smart, the scariest part will not be the fire. It will be the argument everyone makes after the fire is over. If Rhaenyra wins Tumbleton, what will the realm remember? The victory or the proof it thinks it saw?